I've personally spent millions on meta ads for my businesses, and I've helped over 200 or 300 brands now with their own meta ads, either managing it themselves for e-commerce businesses or within my paid programs now where I mentor e-commerce businesses as well. We've spent tens of millions in combined spend on Meta. So this is a short little video, honestly, just to relay discussions we've been having throughout my paid communities, Ecom Blueprint and Uplevel Mastermind at this point in time. And to give you an update, I guess, on what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, spending that much, on a monthly basis, hundreds of thousands on a monthly basis. So first and foremost, the premise of what has consistently worked for the good part of a decade and what will, in my opinion, continue to be effective is something that I've dubbed my S.O.S Ads Formula. So the way that we get the best performance from our meta ads is firstly to make sure that our ads are set up correctly. The first S, setup. Make sure that we have the right objective. We're telling Meta the right thing to do from the outset. If this is not in line with the way we should set things up, then the other letters of the acronym don't actually work, which I'll go through, right? There's no point looking at anything else if your ads aren't set up correctly. And this happens sometimes when people come into, my program for the first time. We have a look at their ads. We go and, look to, do an audit of their performance so we can obviously have a plan moving forwards. And sometimes I'd say probably 50% of times, if they've done it themselves, it's not actually set up correctly. So they might be running a traffic campaign, they might be running an objective campaign, things that sound good in theory, but in practice are completely ineffective when it comes to driving the right type of people to our site that are going to convert and buy. And so again, from spending tens of thousands even on these tests, and this is something that meta ad reps even suggest, you'll see YouTube gurus like e-commerce gurus talking about, build the engagement, build the awareness, drive traffic campaigns, and then go and retarget these people with sales campaigns when, again, in practice, multiple times in practice, this doesn't actually get the best results or any results. Okay, so your objective, meaning the way that you set up your campaign, should be a sales objective, and the conversion event should be purchases every single time, regardless of whether you're starting from scratch or you've been doing it for 10 years. That is just hands down. Okay, I could go into more details about what we've tested in terms of sales to add to carts and sales to view contents, even website views, but honestly, it has the same impact of basically getting no results. We want to optimize for exactly what we want as early as possible. Otherwise, all of that data, all of that website traffic that it's driven is basically useless, okay? So that's the first thing, setup. The second thing is optimizing, right? Management. We want to make sure that once ads have been running for a certain period of time, that we know what these numbers are actually telling us, okay? Numbers actually tell a story inside our meta ads account. And so we can look at it in really 3 stages. The first is how are the ads feeding out? How affordably are they feeding out? So we're looking at CPMs, cost per impressions, cost per 1,000 impressions. What is the actual cost of that? And how many people are we reaching versus the impressions? Now, the difference between the two becomes the frequency, all right? I won't get into technicalities, but that's what it basically means. The second part of looking at the numbers, the optimization management, is how the audience that is receiving your ads is engaging with them. And that comes through our clicks, our cost per clicks, and our click-through rates. And so if they are within KPI, let's call it you're in the $1 or less clicks, it means you're driving relatively affordable traffic to your site. Now, obviously, that is a sliding scale based on your business and your average order values and conversion rates, etc. But we want as cheap clicks as possible from the right people. Don't get me wrong, it's from the right people, okay? Meaning the objective is set up as the purchase to sales, sales to purchase, and we're getting the right people to see our ads and click through. So we want to be careful that those numbers are telling us the true story. Okay, then the third part is actually the pixel data. Now we know just from years gone by that the data that Meta shows from the pixel tracking, meaning people opting in or opting out of tracking through their apps, etc., there's a discrepancy of about 20 to 30%, which sounds crazy. That's quite a big percentage when we're looking at, specific numbers, but it's the reality that we're working with. And so we can look at people who land, people who view our content, meaning our products, people who add to cart, people who, purchase. A lot of the important metrics we need to assess returns, because obviously then we can calculate the ROAS, return on ad spend, and our cost per purchase or cost per acquisitions, which we really look at as well. So knowing what those numbers are for your account, and they're going to be different for everyone's account. This is where specificity or immediate advice for you and your brand is really important, because you may have an allowance where you're converting really, really well from your ads, but your soft stats, so your CPMs or your cost per clicks, let's call it unfavorable in the scheme of things according to KPIs or normal things. Okay, so you need to know what your numbers mean for you at your point in time, not necessarily what the law of averages or KPIs actually says. All right. So once we know what those numbers are, and let's assume that they're ticking over, which is fantastic. Okay, then we can go to the second S, which is the third part, which is scale. And so it's only based off data and numbers that we go ahead and scale. Now, scale comprises of two main methods that we use. One is vertical scaling and the other is horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling basically means we're going to increase budget, we're going to put more input to expect more output with things that are already working. Okay, that is great and can be done very successfully up to 10, 20, 30, 50K per month, but then it will hit a point sometimes where we hit ceilings. And so that's where horizontal scaling, meaning we go sideways but spend more, becomes really important because we're able to spread our budget over a number of campaigns, for example, a number of strategies or setups there, and that can comprise of, say, certain collections or products or UGC versus flat lays, etc. There's a myriad of variations that you can do, but it basically means creating different content and spending more. So you get the same, call it input in terms of spend, but those strategies are two different things when it comes to the practice of it. And so they're the three things that we need to really consider, right? Set up correctly, optimize and manage, know what the numbers mean, know which way to go. If there's green lights, we go ahead and scale with the methods that I just mentioned. If that middle section obviously shows unfavorable results, meaning you're not getting the sales through, you're not getting a good enough ROAS, you're not getting a good enough CPA, then of course, that's where the improvement needs to be made. Now, this is more common than not that people need improvement in these areas. And so that comes down to the direct ad itself. Okay, an update from the last certainly 12 months, 24 months is with the Drometer and the updates with Meta is that the ad itself is doing all the heavy lifting. The content specifically is doing all the heavy lifting. So in my experience, gone are the days where we need to really put refinement on our audience targeting, obsess over audience targeting, getting really granular with our audiences. Okay, Meta just doesn't have the data it used to have or the effectiveness in delivering ads to that specific audience anymore. And so what it wants is to go to mass market, but it needs the right inputs from you, us, the business owners, to say who it goes after. And that comes through the ad itself. So the video, the carousel, the image, whatever it might be, and then obviously the text. And then it will read, it will crawl over the destination page and all that sort of thing. So that's where you should be obsessing when it comes to ad performance. It's nothing to do with the audiences. The setup, obviously, we need correct, as I mentioned, but it's going to be the ad itself. A question came through the other day from one of my community members about exclusions, right, in audience targeting. So this comes back to audience targeting. And again, this was an effective method a few years ago, but has since become less effective, where basically they asked the question, should I exclude customers? Even customers in the last 30 or 60 days from my top of funnel, meaning my cold audience targeting. And my response was no. There's two reasons for that. One is that if your product is a repeatable purchase, okay, and don't discount yourself saying it's not, they could buy it again for themselves or a friend or a partner or refer it over, sort of thing, right? That's just kind of one and the same. I would say that they may be inspired to buy again for the reasons I just mentioned. Okay, so firstly, they're going to see it. We want them to retarget essentially the people that have already purchased. The second thing is social proofing. So if they've bought from you recently, they might like it, comment, share it, engage with it, say, hey, I'm really excited, I just purchased, or can't wait to receive my delivery, or I just received it and it's amazing. And so that creates social proof for potential audience viewers, okay, meaning other people in the audience, and obviously Meta as well, to say, hey, people are liking this ad, people are engaging with this ad, let's play preference to it when it comes to serving to better audiences, higher intent audiences, and it plays into the bidding power of the ad itself, obviously along with budget and a few other things. And so there's some little nuancy things that you may not be aware of that are really important, really crucial, especially from how a Drometer is actually working, how Meta ads actually working. It is solely, I would say, 99% due to the ad itself. And so if your ads aren't performing, that's where you need to obsess. Don't obsess over the audience, right? Make sure obviously your setup is correct, as I mentioned in the beginning, but it's all about the creative number one, and then the text obviously beyond that. And then, as I say, the destination pages and everything part of the customer journey, because the role of Meta is to keep people on the platform. That's where they make their money because of the user base. And so if you can make better ads, better content, better quality to make sure that audience, their users stay on platform longer, again, it's going to favor you because of that. That's exactly their outcome. Because if you think about the reverse, if they have content that doesn't keep people on. People are going to use it less. They're going to spend less time on there. Advertisers are going to pull out. They're not going to make any money. So they start with user experience first, okay? That's why, when we talk about starts of ads, it's about creating hooks. It's about calling out the audience. It's about drawing people's attention, the art form of advertising, which is infinite in terms of its potential, okay? So look, I just wanted to relay that to you as conversations I've been having over the last few weeks. Obviously, performance indicators we've been seeing as well with meta updates, but I wanted to relay that to you. So I really hope it was valuable. If it was, I'd love a like, love a subscribe. I'm sharing stuff like this all the time. If you want to know more about how we help e-commerce brands, you can click on the link below, check it out, see if it's right for you. But other than that, thanks for watching till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.